Okay, I think we're live. All right, let's do this real quick. One shot here. We're doing it live. So you're looking to buy a new PC and you've never really bought one before, or maybe you have, but you're kind of like, maybe what should I get? One website that I personally like, the one that you're listening to me on right now, I've bought it from CyberPower. That was in like 2013. So things have changed, but a lot of the stuff is basically the same. You need an operating system, of course. So the chassis, this is not super important. It's really just what you like, what looks good. The only thing about the case, when we see this word mid tower, that usually means it's kind of like a middle sort of size. And just all that means is like you're not going to be able to cram like two huge, like, 4090s, a massive motherboard, like liquid cooling, all of the shit. You're not going to be able to put all of that in here. You'll have to do like a larger case. I mean, honestly, you might even be able to do it. That's the thing about a lot of these cases. They're actually big enough for really anything. So mid tower, usually that just kind of means like it's, kind of a middle, like normal size. So it'll definitely work for basically everything that you need. It's just that if you're adding things into it, the only thing that can ever limit you from adding more RAM, adding a new graphics card, a new motherboard, a new CPU, all of the parts basically. The only thing that's limited is just the size of your tower. And my tower is a large one. And I have a medium-sized one too, but it just wasn't big enough for everything. But obviously this is a fine way to start out. Basically, just as an example, this is kind of just an example PC if you were to get a sort of a pre-built one, right? So the CPU, it's an AMD CPU. We're sitting at 3.6 gigahertz is nice. 5500. So there's a lot of numbers here. So AMD is one of the two big producers of CPU. The 5500, that's like on a score of 1 to 10,000 kind of. I mean, that's kind of what they're doing, but it's a brand name. So this is like part of their brand name is 5500. So 5500 meaning, again, it's kind of a middle class CPU, but it's good because it's a new one. It's not like it's an old, if it was like 10 years old and it's middle class, it's like, well, but this is like a good new one that's just middle class, so it's perfect. 3.6 gigahertz is fine. That's perfect. Again, like that's I know that's kind of normal these days to have 3.6 gigahertz. Even going up to 4.2 on turbo. And again, turbo, that's just you put more electricity into your CPU and it can run faster and it produces more heat and it can blow up. Not really blow up. I'm sorry. I'm kidding, but it'll start melting very slightly and you might get a slight burning smell. That is what, liquid cooling is good for if you want to turbocharge. So I would say if you don't have liquid cooling, we're not going to be doing any turbocharging, okay? Especially if your room has like carpet in it, if it's not perfectly air conditioned, if there's not a lot of airflow, like if you're in a room that is not super well ventilated or stuff, like those are some things that can make just normal air cooling less effective. And so you just want to make sure that you're not overbuilding your PC and then not having liquid cooling. But again, liquid cooling is always something you can get in the future. So you can always just switch it up and get some liquid cooling. These other parts, I think these are the pins, 65 watts, 19 megabytes of cache. Yeah, these aren't that important. Really, what you look at for processors is just the gigahertz, basically, and then, their number here. And this is kind of a little bit of a industry know-how. Like AMD is, AMD is basically even with Intel now. Intel being the other big producer of CPUs. It used to be kind of like you would always just get Intel. I mean, it kind of depends. But they're good. They're fine to kind of mix and match now. So again, the cooler here is just a fan. So this is just a air cooling, which again is good enough as long as you're not, pushing it any further than it's supposed to go, which is what this PC is for. It's not a big, it's not a big bad boy with a lot of horsepower. Because when you start getting horsepower, and by horsepower I mean like gigahertz, then you need liquid cooling. I would say the motherboard. So this is pretty in specific, like unspecific, but the motherboard is basically like the structure of the whole brain of the computer. So that's where you have to have your basically your big motherboard that you take your CPU and you take your graphics card and you put it, and your RAM and you put all your stuff onto your motherboard. And so the motherboard is the only thing, and it will be confusing. The only thing with the motherboard is you have to make sure it has the right pins. It has the right, attachments for a certain video card, because certain graphics cards can have different pins, and different connection types. But just to be clear, this is a pre-built PC, and it's going to work fine. And really, any PC that you build on this website, on CyberPower PC, they are going to help you connect it all correctly, so that you're not buying, for example, a motherboard that doesn't have the pins needed for a graphics card. They're not really going to, I don't even think they would. I haven't used it in a while, but I'm pretty sure that's true. And we'll take a look here in a second. Of course, another thing, RAM. There's a meme I'm just going to tell you guys about, it's a joke. It's an internet joke of you can always just download more RAM from the internet. You can't, of course. It's a physical thing. You have to grab it and put it in. So obviously you can't download more RAM, but you can always get more RAM. So, and again, RAM is another thing. It has certain pins on it that will fit in certain motherboards, but RAM is very general. There's very few parts of RAM that will not fit. Basically, it's like just kind of weird, either really high end or just crappy, like off market RAM. But almost all RAM is going to easily be able to fit in basically any motherboard. And the only thing is, so the one I'm talking to you on right now, I have 4 sticks of 16. This one has 2 sticks of 8, which is a good starter. It's a good place to start. 16 in total, DDR4. But you can always get more. So this says, as you can see, it says 8. So 8 gigabytes times 2. So it's 2 sticks, and each one is 8, and it's 16 in total. You can get like a stick of 32. You can get a lot of RAM, so you can always upgrade. And it's it's like middly expensive. I would say like a big RAM upgrade would be like $300, something like that, depending. So the video card is the other big thing. This is really where you want to, kind of get a good one. You want to spend a little money. So GeForce is NVIDIA. So they're the largest, aren't they? They're the largest like chip manufacturer in history now. So NVIDIA, they're doing real good. They have access to that silicone. They have access to the stuff that you need to build these things, the semiconductors. So GeForce RTX is a good way to go, The other one being, again, AMD Ryzen. So AMD is the other kind of manufacturer. And honestly, they are just as good. And here's what happens. NVIDIA releases a card, and then, AMD releases a card. And then NVIDIA's like, oh yeah, well, we'll release a better one. And so, oh, well, we will release a better one. But, what's been happening is AMD has been pricing a little bit better lately. So GeForce, they're kind of leaning into the fact that they're the flagship, and they're like, oh, we have the best stuff, and we charge more for like the same shit that AMD has. But just to be clear, this is a good choice. It's just kind of funny how that works. GDDR6, I think that's the pin type, but again, everything's basically pre-made here. So the only other thing is, it has 8 gigabytes of video RAM, which is good. You can go higher. The highest you can get on this, the better. That is basically the bulk of your performance of a gaming PC, or a PC that does a lot of like graphical processing, where basically your monitor is just constantly, doing stuff. the graphical processing is, it's important, and so having more gigabytes is good. So 8 being kind of middle again. So again, these are all great choices for like a sort of a starter PC, a starter gaming PC. As in, it's not just an office PC to do Word documents and Excel documents. It's a gaming PC, so it needs to be at a higher level than that. The power supply, so 600 watts is a good start. And then you can start going up to 650, 700. I think the one I'm sitting on is 800. And that's just to make sure that everything is getting enough power. It's kind of funny that it's like real life, like when you're building a system and you're including more, like you get a new refrigerator, you get some ceiling fans, you got your air conditioning. I mean, you actually need more and more power. Of course, in the US, we have like an amazing power grid and we can just plug and play. But if you were living like on a, air gapped farm or something and you had solar panels or something, the usage of electricity it kind of becomes a thing. But obviously, when you can just plug your computer into the wall, it doesn't really matter. So 600 watts is a good amount. And then when you start getting like maybe if you have 2 graphics cards or you have more RAM or you have some peripherals, I have a big speaker system. That can start, you might start moving up to like 700 watts or something like that. And 80 plus gold, I mean, these are not super meaningful. This just means gold, you do want gold. That just means it's basically of a certain caliber. I'm trying to remember really what that means. But, silver and bronze exist, and like you can do that, but it's kind of like, you get like a gold, but then you can get like a bronze of like a 700, but like it'll be 700 watts, but it's bronze. So it's like maybe a 600 watt gold maybe is a little better. It's something kind of like that. It depends. If you only need 600 watts, you definitely want to get like a gold plus. So this is good. And then the hard drive. So hard drives, everybody loves our hard drive, saving all our stuff. We need lots of room. 1 terabyte, I would not be able to survive with this, but this is fine to start with. So I have like 8 terabytes, I think, on this computer. 2 of them are 10,000 RPM disks, so that's kind of funny. And then the other 6 is SSDs. But this is a really good SSD. It's again a kind of a starter SSD. It's only 3,600 megabytes a second. You can get up to like 10,000, right? 12,000, I think. Which just all that means is like when you open something, it'll open instantly, and you're like, oh, and then you click, and then it's like, and it just go like. People get used to using like office PCs, or they get used to using kind of like laptops, and they're just not fast. But when you get a gaming PC and then you get a higher end gaming PC, like it's like a caged animal. It's like it'll bite anything that you give it. So it's like you give it a little click, like you click on something, it's like it'll open it instantly, be like, boop, it's there, and you'll try to keep getting it to go slower, but you can't beat it. This has keyboard and mouse. I was telling a friend of mine, so this is my mouse. Let me make sure you can see this. Yeah. This is a Razer Naga Death Adder. Yeah. It's really good. It has 2 buttons here on the side, and then the middle mouse button you can click. It glows green. I mean, that's pretty good. But it's just a good ergonomic, like middle-sized mouse. You can get larger ones where you can really just put your whole hand on it and just be like, yeah. Or you can get smaller ones where you can kind of, it's more of like a, but I don't really like those. I like the mid-size, this where you just click a lot. And I have clicked this thing a lot. This is an old mouse. It's still going strong. It is 6400 DPI. I don't know what this one is. So this one, this one is interesting, right? It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 buttons, and it's kind of weirdly compartmentalized. So this one is very advanced, actually. This is a very advanced mouse. And let me just go into like some neuroscience really quickly here. Basically, the game that I play the most, that you guys watch me play, World of Warcraft, um, I have played this mouse on World of Warcraft the most. Like when I have played World of Warcraft, I have used this mouse the most. I have used trackpad a little bit as a meme, and then I used kind of a smaller mouse when I was still in school. But for about 10 years straight now, I've been using this mouse, and that's me playing at the high level, like, rating at a really high level, right? It's just very responsive. It moves very clearly. And the buttons, I just like the buttons because they're simple. And, I'm sure, so the point being, I'm sure I could get used to this mouse, but, it's just hard to change to a new mouse. So my solemn swear to you people is that you should buy a mouse that you really like your hand, and you should like test drive it. Go to Best Buy and like look at all the mouse and be like, yeah, I like that one. And they're like, look, okay, that looks pretty good. Just check them out. You want it to get wired too. Always use a wired mouse. I mean, if you people want to use a wireless mouse, whatever. But I'm too old for that, and I can't do it. I'm a wired guy. This I don't know where it says DPI. Customizable DPI levels. Anyway, yeah, this one seems cool. I mean, you could try it out, and it comes with it. That's the thing. You can't not get that mouse when you buy this pre-built. And then the keyboard, keyboard is kind of the same way. I have this keyboard, and I've beaten the crap out of this keyboard. Like I type all the time. I'm like smash keys. I'm like, come on, like like as we do, as you can hear in my live streams. And it's been really good. There's something called a mechanical keyboard. I don't think this one is a mechanical keyboard. And really all that means is that the way that it's just built with a little bit more longevity and like sort of stronger structural build for they'll be heavier usually, the mechanical keyboards, but what they're designed for is for you to literally hit some keys just millions of times, like millions and millions of times before anything starts going wrong, basically. Because I mean, you just think about like your plumbing, your car. Think about things that just run a lot and they do things a lot and they're just getting wear and tear. That's like a keyboard, and getting a nice keyboard can help. But it really depends, again, how you feel. What keyboard feels good. Certain keyboards can feel better than others. I want to go to... Let me see. I haven't really been here in a long time. Yeah, so I think you can just click on stuff. Yeah, so I just wanted to show this. Yeah, so like for example, some cases are not going to have liquid cooling support, which is kind of a consideration to make. But yeah, this is the Extreme 4060 Ti. What is this? 1600. Where's like their big ones? Let's get like a big... Yeah, I don't know. Let's do this. 16. Yeah, let's do $3,000. What the? This is like a fish tank. Bro, that's cool. They really are going hard with like the weird K stuff and the RBG that's red, blue, green. The LED lights. I don't know. It's kind of funny, I guess. But this one, I just wanted to look at an expensive one just to kind of see. So this one, what is it described as? Do we have it listed? Oh yeah, this one. So this is also called a mid tower. So I think that word is actually widely used, that phrase. So I think using any kind of mid tower is fine. And I think, there might not even be like a larger version of a mid tower. Yeah, so this says quote unquote full tower. So this is full tower, and that really is like if you want to get everything, and you have like extra case fans for extra cooling because you're overclocking your CPU, this kind of stuff. But anything really, mid tower is going to be fine. So this is where you can add like extra case fans. Now, it's kind of up for debate. You do want airflow, like you want your PC to have like airflow. You want air to be able to come in and go out. It's like a factory. It's like a ventilation thing. Like you have to think about it as like a machine. It's like a radiator for your car. It's actually important. But a lot of time, default case fan is fine, and you can add a couple. It just kind of depends. If you're taking care of the PC, this includes like using some of that canned air to like kind of blow it out a little bit, just blow out the dust. Dust is literally what kills a computer. Nothing ever happens to a computer really, because you know how Voyager 2 is still going past like, Planet X. It's because there's really not much dust in space, and it's able to disperse its heat pretty well. So somehow it's still going. And so computers don't really die for any other reason than they overheat and they get dust buildup, and then that dust heats up even more, and then it heats up even more, and it basically melts. That's how a computer dies. You just start losing transistors, and they just start melting. But so that's why you think about what your cooling is, and you think about cleaning out your PC. I need to actually clean mine out. I just moved, and I should probably clean it. So the processor, let's look at some of these insane processors. So this is an i9. So this is an Intel Core i9. So i9 being kind of like the top. And then it's a 13,900K, whatever that means, right? That's where that other one we were looking at, it said 5,500. So this one is like more than twice as much, whatever that means. And it's kind of a proprietary thing. Nobody really knows like why they name it certain ways, or like, it's just they release a product and it's like, this is what it is. And it's like, okay, we don't really talk about what they're going to make before they make it. But this one can go up to like 5.7. So that's kind of crazy. And it has 36 megabytes cache. So that's a beast. That's a beast of a CPU. This is the liquid cooling options. I have liquid cooling, real good. If I did not have liquid cooling, my PC would not function. So, because it would just start overheating, and I wouldn't be able to use it for longer than like an hour or two. So the video card, again, we were talking about video cards. So again, there are AMD Radeon, is the line for their graphics cards, and then you have your GeForce, NVIDIA, and those are the two main ones. I mean, you're going to have MSI GeForce, but that's just a different manufacturer, but it's still GeForce. Gigabyte GeForce, it's still GeForce. RTX, I think there used to be GTX. I think I actually am running GTX in mine. That shows how old my computer is, but, the RTX brand is fine, and then the AMD RX. Yeah. And, you basically just go up. I mean, really, money is directly correlated to performance, basically in all cases. So, the more money you spend, the faster your computer goes. That's really how it is. And like, at a certain point, it's hard to notice the difference until you're really starting to fine tune things. And like, for example, I'm looking at this on a 240 hertz 2K monitor, which is, it's pretty hard to run this at like full speed. Like getting 240 frames a second on 2K is pretty tough. The only place I can do it is on my desktop, so which is funny. So again, here's all the power supplies. So like we've got 600, that's a good starter spot. We've got our gold, and then I don't even know if they have like silver and stuff. Because it's like, why would you even name it that? Because it used to be that you could really get some cheap parts, Like, let's look at some cheap parts. So Newegg, just for everyone. So basically, you go to CyberPower PC to build your PC. I mean, and I'm not, sponsored by them or anything. I just liked them. They have a good site. It works. It functions good. PC go fast. And then there's another one called Newegg. And this has just individual pieces. So this is where it's like Legos. you take out your old RAM and you give it to your little sister, your little brother, and it's like, there you go, bud, you can have that, but I'm gonna get some big RAM, and then you buy just big RAM. You know what? Let's look at big RAM. Uh, Components. Uh, Wait, am I dumb? Where's RAM? Shouldn't it be obvious? Memory. Yeah. Okay, memory. Sorry. It's the word memory. It's random access memory is what RAM stands for. And what can I do? Let's do 64 gigabytes per module. Apply. Yeah, so this one, just as a random, that 64 is kind of that's not normal, basically. But it's it's $785 for one stick. This is probably more, yeah, the case is 48. Yeah, so $250, so you can see some prices here. But this is the kind of thing where you can just buy some RAM and they ship it to you, and then you should know a little bit about your computer component stuff, but you can always watch a video. There's so many videos on YouTube that can help you with this. And of course, I basically taught myself. I think my friend in high school helped me. He taught me some stuff, and then we kind of, we were building our PCs and stuff together. But this is where you just take out the old RAM and you put in the new RAM. And it really is just kind of plug and play. You want to do it while the computer's off, and then just restart it. And it's basically plug and play. I mean, there might be some caveats to that. Maybe somebody's going to be screaming at me like, you actually have to download the firmware and then update your BIOS and then kick your kick your own butt. 16, man, look at that, 1650 watts. Wow. That's big power. That's lots of power. So these are the motherboards. Yeah, so these again are, and they all have Wi-Fi. I'm like, oh yeah, Wi-Fi. So my personal recommendation is to have an Ethernet cable. I don't have, well, they're over there, but an Ethernet cable, which is just that, that plug-in, that direct plug-in. That is going to be your best option for a gaming PC. You can do Wi-Fi, but like Wi-Fi is just not good. Like if you have an awesome Wi-Fi setup with like a hugely powerful router that's like in the same room, like I guess it'll be fine. But there's something else called just an Ethernet cable, which is the same thing, and it's just better. Again, that's the wired thing. That's why I do a wired mouse. Because wireless mouses, I mean, sometimes the signal gets interrupted. I don't know, there's gamma radiation from the sun. That's what wireless gets. You just need a lot of power for wireless. So this so this one includes 16 times 2. So that has 2 sticks of 16, which is good. You can get like 4 sticks of 16. Most like high-end motherboards are going to have like 4 slots. So you can get up, I mean, you can get a lot. If you're doing the math in your head, it's like you can get a lot of RAM if you need to. So DDR5, I believe DDR5 is it refers to the connection, so the pins. So it's like, DDR5, let's say, is like this, and then DDR4 is like this. I forget what it is, but it's basically the pins that you need to put it in. So as long as those match up, you're good. And then, yeah, the megahertz, memory, I mean, geez. Like getting some like 6,000 megahertz, like DDR5, whew, that would be sizzling fast. So this one, they have like a 2 terabyte NVMe. Which is cool. I mean, the other one had 1 terabyte, so it's just like all it is twice as big. So you can store twice as many Fortnite installs as you could on the other one. But Fortnite is what? It's probably like 40 gigabytes. I don't know how much it is. And 1 terabyte is 1,000 gigabytes. So I mean, you should be good if you can install some other games, but. They have like 4 terabyte. It only goes up like $300, it looks like here. So that's kind of interesting. And then they have faster, like the next generation of SSD. It's 9,500. This one's 11,800 megabytes a second write speed. So, I mean, you could not keep up with it. There's no way you can keep up with it. Like if you select your entire computer and then click and drag it into a folder, it's like, okay, it might take it a little bit, but like it's only because it's like, 1,000 gigabytes. But even that, I mean, it'll go pretty quick. It'll take it, I mean, technically it would take it 100 seconds, right? So that's pretty funny. Yeah, secondary hard drive. So I do have a disk myself, but so secondary, that's not a thing. I mean, it's all about storage. How much storage do you need? And I think most people understand this. Like even in an office environment, you need just an amount of storage to store files in, right? So you just kind of get however much you need. You can always get more, especially if you have a nice motherboard. You can plug in another hard drive. I think I already said it earlier in the video. I have 4 hard drives in my computer. A lot of it's like sentimental stuff. I just old pictures from college and stuff. My old photography, where I'll import it all and then I'll maybe get rid of it. I don't know. Who cares? Video capture card. Oh yeah, that's I guess for streaming. This is not, it's not needed. That would just be completely extra. I don't even know how to implement that. I'm not even sure if that's like worth it. So I would skip that. Yeah, and then the wireless network. Yeah, if you want to be a wireless Andy, go for it. Yeah, the sound card. So a sound card can be interesting. Like I have a big speaker system with a big subwoofer, and I have like I think I probably have something like this. I mean, whatever it was 10 years ago, but just kind of that first starter version of a sound card. But just to be clear, most motherboards are going to be fine running the speakers themselves. So it's called onboard, just onboard or embedded, a sound card basically. Accessories. Ooh, man, we haven't even talked about monitors. I do want to talk about monitors, and we're going to do it right now. So the monitor that I have is, let's see, I'm going to do, it's a 2K 240 hertz monitor, curved. I have a curved monitor too, which is it's like a conclave, so it's like a big boy. Yeah, I think I have the Odyssey G6. Yes, that's what I have. So this one, it's kind of cool. It's curved, right? And it's pretty sweet. But what you want to look at for monitors, basically, I just wanted to show what I had just to kind of give it. And I think mine's the 32. Yeah, it went down in price. Cool. I might get another one. Maybe someday. But you want to go, there's a few different things. So, as monitors go, I'm sure people understand when you're measuring the size of a monitor, it's from here across and it's diagonal down to here. It's not like up or like here or, it's not across. Some people think it's straight across, but it's the diagonal. So that's weird because sometimes you might have a shape like this or you might have a shape like this. And it's like a different, it could be kind of a similar inch, but like it's a different shape. So it's kind of interesting how that works, right? But most of them, what it comes down to is the resolution. So you can have like a resolution that's kind of like this. It's a rectangle, or you can have like a wide screen resolution, which is like a really long rectangle. Or you can almost have a square. I mean, nobody really does squares anymore. That's not a thing because it's kind of silly, and old. It's like, I don't want to be old. I want to have a cool widescreen monitor. So that's the main thing to consider is, do you want it to be 1080p? So you can see here, I'm just going to kind of click. I mean, here, I can zoom in, right? Oh, man. We're not in the right spot. Let's go down, 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 down. Okay. I can't really scroll. So the 1080, 1080 is your basic, like, performance oriented. And what that means is like it's going to run faster on a 1080. Your graphics card has to send a certain number of signals to your monitor to then make it appear. And if your monitor doesn't require as many basically pixels, it doesn't require as many pieces of information because it only has to load 1080 versus like a let's see, the next one they have here is a 1440. So a 1440 is what we call 2K because it's 2560 times 1440. But you want to look at the 1440. That is sort of, so 1440 is, well, here, I'll do this. 1440 is like what this to this is. And then the 2560 is across here. So 2560 is what makes it like a long, kind of wide monitor. It's not this wide, by the way. This is not quite. It should be. It would be about right here, right? But 1440 is this. So when you can start expanding this and this, it's like that means you can just start shoving in more information into one screen, and that's what needs a better graphics card. But the computer we were looking at before has it has a good graphics card. So we can, I think we could get away with. This is a 165 hertz 2K. So basically, there's two things. It's kind of like they are both performance metrics or parameters. You have your resolution, and then you have your hertz. Hertz is basically how quickly the monitor refreshes. And once you get past like 40, 50 hertz, 60 hertz, the human eye can't really keep up anymore, because we can only see about 30 frames per second. And then after that, it just kind of looks smooth, and it's like, ooh, it looks really smooth. That's really high, really high frame rate. That's why we like high frame rates, because it just looks like liquid water, and it looks really cool. And that's what makes video games like just look so cool. It's like, whoa, look how like liquid it looks. So that is hertz. So hertz is kind of, just how cool and liquid you want your stuff to look. And that requires some performance. And that's why you need that good graphics card, because it has to be cranking out frame rate. It's just cranking out the frames, 165 frames per second, basically. That's what hertz is. I mean, it's kind of a different, it's funny because you can basically consider that frame rate, but it's slightly different in the way that it shows up in a mechanical manner. But 2K, so the other thing is the resolution, and resolution is, again, it just, I don't know, it's hard to describe it. It's just making things look crisp. So you can see, like, these are my keys here, and this is just a graphical thing for you to look at. It's not a spatial thing. You see how the edges are kind of torn? Let me see, make sure you guys can see this. So the edges are kind of torn. I've had this library card for a long time. This is kind of like having a smaller resolution, because the corners are going to be a little jagged. The letters and numbers, they're going to be bigger, and they're also going to be a little jagged. It kind of depends. That's sort of a very simple way to describe it. But as you go up in resolution, everything kind of gets smaller, and it gets more minute and more precise. And then when you blow it up, like when you're playing a video game that is, kind of made for a high resolution, so at least 1080. That's why we're starting at 1080. We don't even start at 720 or anything. They don't even have those available, because that's just like, that's kind of laughable to have like something below 1080 for a gaming computer. This one is really good. Like, this one is 280 hertz, and it's 1080. So it's going to be like that slightly lower resolution, but it's a much higher frame rate. And this is really good for like the first time getting a gaming PC. I would honestly not recommend getting a 2K. Then, to be clear, the only reason I say not to get a 2K monitor for your first like good gaming monitor, gaming PC, is because you won't appreciate it. Like, you won't understand the leap, the jump that you're making. If you start with a 1080, the 280 hertz, I mean, geez, that's a lot. I would say something like this, like a 1080 165 hertz, something like that. And then 24.5 inches, that's a little bit smaller, but that's fine. I would, I think 27 inches is a good number, because that just means you have a lot of real estate. You can kind of have a lot of stuff on the screen, and you can just kind of, in case you're streaming, and then maybe you're doing, just your web browsing, you're looking at YouTube, and then you're playing a game. You're going to be doing all of that, of course, but you can Alt-Tab between them, and you can kind of, I don't know, you can make sure you have enough room for everything. That doesn't really make sense the way I explained it, but if you know what I mean, you know what I mean. So 24 inches, it's fine. It's all right. But 27 inches, of course, is basically going to be required, I think, for 2K. I don't even think you can get like a 24-inch like 2K. So you can start going up to like 32 inches. I actually have a 32-inch. It's pretty big though, right? You need a big desk. By the way, all of this stuff, you're going to need a big desk for this, and you should have a nice, like, clean, little uh, desk that is sturdy. You don't want it to fall, obviously, but that's kind of unrelated. Well, it is related. But yeah, so monitors are really cool because because the whole point of a gaming PC is what you see on your monitor. Nothing else matters. Like none of those numbers and what's going on inside the trunk, inside the engine, under the hood. Like none of that matters. It's what you see on your screen. So, getting a good monitor is really just as important as getting a nice computer kind of thing. So definitely go with it at least 1080, and I would say at least 120 hertz, so 120 Hz. So there's other stuff like G-Sync. You do want it to be. It's called DisplayPort. That is the connection type. So you've heard of probably HDMI, and HDMI is kind of that standard for like basically everything now. Like you don't even really do VGA, right? What was the thing before that? But you always do HDMI. But the thing after HDMI now is DisplayPort, and Display is just really good. That's kind of the new brand name for what the connection is, and that's because you just need a lot of information going through a wire, and HDMI is just it's kind of an old, it's like DVDs, it's a little bit of an old technology. So you want to go for display, and you want to get at least 1080p, and you want to get at least 120 hertz, I would say. And that should only be like $200, really. I mean, you could probably find one for like $160. The one I'm looking at right now that I'm talking to you guys on is like $850. But although I just looked at it, right, it's like down, it's like $650. Yeah, these are all cool. So here, I'm gonna zoom out a little bit. Yeah, otherwise, I mean, there's different. Hold on, I lost my place here. Yeah, freebies, cables, blah blah blah. Do they have a freebie? That's funny. Yeah, speakers. I mean, I'm personally a big fan of speakers, but this is a logistical thing. If you have roommates or parents or blah blah blah, maybe speakers aren't going to be the biggest hit. It's like turn that down. So whatever whatever you want to go for with that. Turn that racket down. Yeah, keyboards. There's a lot of different keyboards. I would say just go to Best Buy. Go to Best Buy and like type on it and be like, yeah, I like that one. That one's pretty good. Yeah, they have. Let's see which. So this is the one I'm. No, this is slightly different, but yeah, here's the Death Adder. So lightweight, ergonomic. Yeah, I do like a lightweight one. Some of them have weights in them. Some mouse have weights in it to like make it. I don't know. I don't know. I've never really understood that, but I guess it can. It just depends what you like. So like a nice heavy mouse, or you can get a lightweight mouse. I like the lightweight. But mousepad is basically pretty clear. I like the felt, kind of the felt. I don't know if that's like a descriptor they use, but because there are ones that are kind of sheen, and I don't like those because it can crack. You do not want to get a mousepad that can like kind of bake in the sun, and just over years it just starts cracking and stuff, and then you start hitting like little ridges in it while you're trying to move your mouse. So you want to get like a felt, sort of just nice. It's sort of like, yeah, I don't know how to describe it. I was about to say chessboard, but I don't think any of you people play chess. So I don't know. We're moving on to the cat ears. You definitely want to get some cat ear headphones. You know what I'm saying? I have had, these are like studio quality. So it's a Shure SH840, kind of DJ headphones. And I've had these for a long time, since like 2008 or 2000. Yeah, I think it was like 2008. And, they're starting, like, it's lost all of its padding and stuff here. It's all frayed off, like the fake leather shit, but it's really good. I mean, these are great, and they just have a very simple analog, plug-in, auxiliary plug-in. So I can just plug these into, any of the equipment that I own. A lot of these are going to be USB, which is fine. You can use some USB. So the point, I don't know if you guys can see this. Let me make sure you can see it here. So this is my boom mic, and this is what you've always heard me on, and I've had it in my other videos. But it's like a radio host, like a boom mic. I can kind of do this and then just push it out of the way, and it changes the sound. And you guys are probably getting a lot of like crap right now and hearing stuff. So I'll just put it back. All right, there we go. I use a boom mic because, you know, and it's a very smart technology. Like especially on Discord and stuff, it'll cancel out noise and only pick up your voice. You know, there's a lot of great stuff. There are like these crappy voice chat applications, you know, stuff like Ring Central or Zoom or whatever. They're just so crappy, and it's funny because people use them so much. And I'm like, dude, you guys don't even know what good like voice chat is. Like, you can basically have ones where you can slam your hands on the keyboard and just be like, and just be talking, and it'll usually, you know, it'll do a really good job of trying to, you know, parse out the correct noise and then take out the extra noise, whatever. So yeah, this is that option. So you can have headphones that are only sound and then have a boom mic, or you can do like these. You can have a headset with a mic. Personally, never had a good time with headset mics, but I think that's because I've recorded a lot of videos, and I really want that good, you know, that good sort of sound. You know, I like that sound, and I hope you guys can hear me well right now. I hope it sounds good. So yeah, that's like some of these options. I'm using the Yeti microphone, right? Yeah. Chair, right? So chair, you know, let's talk about being healthy, people. You know, let's talk about it. You gotta get up and you gotta stretch. You gotta make sure you have a comfortable place to sit. So make sure you have a good chair. You know, make sure you get up and you stay active, and you're also going to school and you're doing all your homework. But when you're sitting at your gaming PC, you gotta make sure you have a good chair. So again, this is something I would go and sit in it. You know, you don't want to really just order a chair and then have it get there and then be like, yeah, this doesn't work. You know, it's like underwear, or it's like socks, or, you know, it's got to fit, right? So you should kind of try it on, honestly. And you know, and it's funny because the chair I'm sitting in, I liked it when I first got it, and now I'm starting to not like it because it's breaking in certain places that I don't want it to be breaking in. And it's also just kind of crappy. So a gaming chair, an office chair, you know, spend the money. Spend the money. It's like a bed. You know, it's like your bed where it's like you spend a third of your life there. So it's like, why don't you spend the money on it? It's like, yes. And with gaming, you're going to spend at least a third of your life gaming. Ha, just kidding. We're not doing that. Only I do that. But video camera. Yeah, so, you know, get a webcam. I have a crappy webcam. Mine is like 720p. These are 1080, you know. So if you want to get a webcam, get a nice one. You can just put it right on top of your... Most of them have a little clip thing. You can clip it right on top of your monitor. That's pretty cool. You know, yeah, USB stuff, blah, blah, blah. You want to get... You know, Windows 11 is cool. I mean, whatever, dude. I don't know. I don't use it. I use Windows 10. I hate change. You're going to hate it, too, when you grow up. Like, so whatever, dude. Like, you just go into Windows 11 and just be cool. Windows 11 Pro, maybe, you know, upgrading to Pro is maybe worth it, you know, if you're trying to go for that. You know, get your Microsoft 365. Make sure you get that so you can type your documents and send your emails on your gaming PC. Oh yeah, the professional wiring. So this is a cool thing. So this is kind of like a step up, like kind of in art form and creativity. The wiring, you know, because you have a lot of wires and stuff is going places. You have to know how to connect it. And there's plenty of YouTube channels, again, that'll show you how to do that. But they will do like professional wiring for you, which is kind of cool. Like, and that means they'll zip tape it together, and then they'll make sure it all goes together, and then it's all like perfect, and it's like, woo. And honestly, that helps a little bit. It helps a little bit with overheating. It helps a little bit with airflow, you know? Because if you have all your wires just really like compact and they all go in one little area and they don't take up any more room than they have to, it's like building a spaceship. You know, you cannot waste any room because it's super important that everything on there has an extreme purpose, right? Because you hit max Q, and if them wires are rattling, you know, your spaceship might blow up, right? So that's not going to happen with your PC. But it's funny how it's a little bit of a similarity. So if you have really good wiring, That'll help. So that's one service they do. So it's kind of cool. I've never really done great wiring. I've dabbled, but it's like a hobby thing. Well, it's like a hobby on a hobby. So yeah, all this other stuff is blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that is my presentation. Well, thank you for listening to my TED Talk. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, so this one's pretty good. I would recommend. And I mean, yeah, let's see. If you click add to cart, can you add like, what else can you add? What is this? Gaming chassis? What is a gaming chassis? I don't know. They trying to sell you stuff. I don't know. You can buy some more stuff if you want. Buy some more stuff. So this has no monitor. So, you know, it says in all caps here, no monitor. So a place for a monitor, again, could be Newegg. And peripherals, monitors. Oh my God, they have 5K monitors. Wow. I'm going to just click on the whole monitor thing. You know, by the way, getting a little personal here, I don't use Amazon. Amazon is a predatory, you know, capitalistic, monopolistic sort of company. And I recommend that you should spread your dollars around. You know, don't buy everything at Walmart. Don't buy everything at Amazon. And then don't only ever buy things from Walmart and Amazon. Just don't do that. You're bad. That's un-American. You need to use different companies, spread your dollars around, keep the market fresh and clean. So I always go to Newegg because Newegg has a market share. They are a considerable market share, but it's nowhere near as much as like Walmart and Best Buy and Amazon. You know, I just don't ever use Amazon. So anyway, that sidetracked there. Yeah, let's just go to gaming monitors here. We'll go to 1080. Again, I would think 1080. I think 1080 is fine. Look at this. Yeah, $89. Wow. Let's do 27 inches, I think. I mean, I don't know. I don't think there's any reason not to. And then what else are we looking for? We're looking for, I want to do 100. Oh, let's do 144. Right, okay. You could do 60. I mean, 60 is fine. So brand. So this is like buying a TV, right? Like TV, I don't know. It's actually really hard to explain this to anyone over the age of even 35. I'm 34 years old, and the only reason I even know all of this is because I was a computer boy from like a young age. 13 years old, I was like big computers. Computer. I lived in the woods before that. I was like a woodman, you know, a woodsman, and then I became a computerman. But there are some big differences. So like Samsung is great. Asus is good. You know, Asus is always going to be just a good decision. Acer is also a good decision. LG, yeah, LG. You know, I mean, I have nothing bad to say about LG. Nothing good. I mean, it's whatever. It's there. But Acer, yeah, I would say an Acer and Asus. Those are different. So Asus and then Acer and then Samsung. I would just say go with a Samsung. I mean, just I don't know. You know, I'm not sponsored by them, but it's like, why would I lie? I would say this right here, 144 hertz, 1080, DisplayPort, AMD FreeSync, one millisecond. So they say 1 millisecond. That just means when you move your mouse, it's going to show up on the computer in at most 1 millisecond. It'll be less than that, hopefully. You know, cats have a reaction time of like 20 milliseconds. Humans, it's like 170. So 1 millisecond is good enough, you know, absolutely. 27 inches. Yeah, this is basically just plug and play, you know, plug it into the display. You know what? Let me just double check because I don't want to look like a dummy here. This motherboard, actually, it'll be the video card. Let me just make sure. Do they have, can I just look at the specs? Tech power up. Oh my God. Can I just, okay, yeah, so this has 3 display ports. Wow, so you could have 3 monitors, and then it has 1 HDMI. So this is good, yeah. Yeah. And this is, I mean, this is techpowerup.com. I don't know. There's so many websites. Who knows? They're saying that 1080, 1080 is kind of what you should do with this one, and you shouldn't really go for 2K, which I would agree with that assessment. So this is 1080. It's 144 hertz. I think this would be perfect. I mean, and just to say that this is basically what you're looking for. You could drop it down to 24 inches if you want. I mean, it drops the price by $40. Um, I will just say in sort of a randomly specific scenario, if you had like a 13-year-old boy who was getting like a gaming computer for the first time, like everything is going to seem awesome. And I believe really it is an even greater gift to give them like the beginner level, the small, the little, the slow, because then as they grow up, and I mean, I can't imagine being 13 right now and being interested in computers, because the things that are going to happen in the next 20 years in computers is just going to be mind boggling. It's going to be just insanely mind boggling. And so starting at the smallest that you can might be kind of a niceness, a kindness, because they're going to be able to upgrade. They're going to be like, oh, now I get to get the better thing. But if you buy them all the better things, the best things at once, their eye and their interface, their input is going to always be used to that, and they're not really going to be able to grow as much. Because I first started gaming on on dial-up internet, and I had a crappy like CRT resolution. uh yeah, well, it says 1024. It was lower though. It's 480. Yeah, 480. So it used to be 480, and this is 1080. So it's more than double. And that's basically the amount of information you can squeeze in. And then 144 hertz. I mean, stuff used to be 30 hertz, basically. It was like 24. It was just fast enough just so the human eye could like kind of be like, yeah, okay, I can see that, but it would still flicker, right? You could notice the flicker like when you click stuff. But now there's no flicker. Oh, there's no flicker. In fact, it looks like water coming right at you. Um, yeah. Anyway, I would say you could get the 24 inch or the 27. I think that's kind of up to that's really what your setup is. Like if you have a big desk, a nice desk, you can get the 27. Um, it's really going to be quite a attention holding device, if you know what I mean. It's going to hold a lot of attention, especially if you're like a kid. So 27 inches, maybe 24, I don't know, up to you. But otherwise, yeah, I would say go to Best Buy to get a keyboard and mouse, because you just want one that feels good. Because even if you don't really know much about mouse, you haven't used them much. Like, if you've been using controller or you've been just doing touch screen or whatever it is, especially if you're, a 13-year-old boy, you maybe haven't used a mouse very much. Maybe you can't even type 120 words per minute, which I think is crazy, right? But there is new input. Like voice is just an input now, and it's faster than 120 words per minute. That's for sure. But yeah, try out the mouse, try out the keyboard, because that'll be good, and then try out the chair, and then that's really all you have to try out. Everything else you can just buy it and like ship it and plug it and play it. Okay, that is my presentation. Again, welcome. Thank you for coming to my second TED Talk. Farewell. Goodbye. Yes. Goodbye. Goodbye.